Good evening. I am not used to a screen this big or a classroom this big. I'm an academic. I'm going to try to keep it short and present a study that we conducted right before the Arab uprisings. So some of this information might be outdated and might be terribly affected by what happened around the Arab world. We asked a simple question. We wanted to know what's happening with social and digital media and the traditional media in the Arab world, and we focused on youth. How are youth using media, new and old, and how are they using it not just to consume, but also to produce it? Not to go into methodology a lot, we did a survey of 2,744 young Arab participants between the ages of 13 and 28. However, more than 80% were between the ages of 17 and 22, so that's the dominant age. They were from 3 countries, Jordan, Lebanon, and the UAE. Males and females, relatively equal, slightly more females. There are 3 sample biases to keep in mind. This is a sample that is predominantly urban, predominantly mid to upper income or mid to upper class, and predominantly literate youth, because we surveyed them on university and school campuses. So we do have some bias in our sample. We're going to jump right into the results and the findings. We had a bunch of questions about language. Those were kind of an afterthought, but then we found some very interesting trends. We asked the young participants, what languages do you use with the following media? Blogging. 81% said they use English. And I'm specifically talking about writing blog entries, not reading blogs. Only 11% said they use Arabic, and 4% said they use French. When it comes to entertainment, with any kind of media, 66% also said English, and 23% said Arabic, 2% French. Work or schoolwork, almost the same, 64% Arabic, 25% English, and 3% French. Watching TV, 57% English, about a quarter Arabic, and also the same percentage for French. Now here's the difference in the trend. The only media genre that still Arab youth use Arabic predominantly to consume is news. 57% said they consume news or they access news through the Arabic language. Only a third use English and 1% use French. I usually, when I put this information up, I have the Franco-Arabs jump at me and say, hey, where are all the French gone? Well, we actually cross-tabbed. We actually compared the students who came from French schools, and still English was predominant. This is not about the use of the French language in these 3 countries. This is more about the availability of material and the platforms that are being produced and available in English. We had a series of questions about social media in general, or we called them back then, online social networking and blogging. We found that 86% said they have used social media. Remember, this was before the Arab Spring. I bet this number is in the high 90% today. We asked them, for what do you use social media? The number 1 use of social media is for fun, 84%. The second one, also for fun, but specific fun, connecting with existing friends. 84% said they use social media for that. Then followed by connecting with family, 58%, making new friends, 55%, expressing opinion, that dwindles down to 41%, conducting business, just about 9%. And then came the political activism, which everybody was excited about. Everybody was saying at that point, all the Arab youth are on social media, generating protests and creating all kinds of changes in the Arab world. What we found, 5% of the youth we surveyed said they use social media for political activism. I bet also this has changed. Mind you one thing, 5% of a population using social media for political activism is still substantial. If you compare the number of people who went down to the protests in Egypt, roughly 2 million people at a time, compared to the population of Egypt, roughly 85 people, that's around that number. That's around 5%. It doesn't really take that much to change the system. Blogging. When we surveyed them, 77% had never written a blog entry at that point. Those who had, we asked them, what did you blog about? Here's what they blogged about. First, music and entertainment. Then, arts and culture, sports news, travel, science and technology, international news, health news goes down to 18%, religion, 17%, local political news, Arab political news, and finally, economic and financial news. In other words, even those who blog predominantly blog about entertainment and soft news matters. More about news consumption. We wanted to know how much do Arab youth, how much time do they spend per day consuming news, getting information. 20% said no time at all. The biggest chunk, 44%, said less than an hour. That's maybe watching a local newscast or flipping through a newspaper, reading the cover or the front page and a few articles. 17% said 1 hour or about 1 hour. 10% said about 2 hours, and 3 or more said 10 hours. I think 44% is still substantial. We need to investigate more. What do they mean, or what do we mean by less than an hour? This could be just 2 minutes. Here are some of the genres that Arab youth follow in terms of news. Number one, these are the media they access news from. Television. This is something that you will see over and over in this survey. Television remains king. No matter what you think about digital and social media today, television remains dominant. News, entertainment, any kind of genre you think about, television is still number one, and actually a lot of studies are showing that social and digital media are propelling television forward as opposed to newspapers and radio, which it's taking away from. The second source of news, family and friends, or in general, word of mouth or rumors. One of the good news for new media, professional news websites ranked third. If you look at the blue and the red, the blue represents several times a day, the red about once a day. Add them together and you will see that a majority, almost 60%, use professional news websites mainly to access news. That was followed by internet videos, email, SMS, online social networks or social media, newspapers and magazines. Barely 50% use them to access news, but that's still substantial. Then comes radio, and the last medium to use to access news is blogs. A whopping 70% never use blogs to access news. Here are the news genres again. Again, you can see the dominance of entertainment. Music and entertainment news ranked number one, followed by international news, sports news, science and technology, health news, local and political news, 36%. About 1/3 of the participants said this is what they follow mainly. Arts and culture, Arab political news, travel and religion. We were surprised that religion ranked at the lowest scales in terms of production and consumption of media. And then finally, economic and financial news. This brings us to entertainment. Any kind of entertainment using media. %77% said they usually use media for entertainment 2 or more hours per day. Compare that to the number about news and all kinds of other information. Arab youth are predominantly using media, new and old, for entertainment purposes and for fun. I know this is a long list. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can look at the top and at the bottom. Watching TV programs still ranks #1 in entertainment, followed by mobile phone texting, listening to music, a bunch of different methods of listening to music. Then comes social media, online chatting, watching videos on DVDs, etc., etc. Look at the lowest 4 or 5. Reading books or magazines. Who reads books these days? Reading blogs, watching movies at a theater. Worldwide, theaters or movie theaters are losing a lot of money. Reading ebooks and watching live theater plays. I don't blame them. A few questions about television. 56% of those we surveyed said they had 3 or more TV sets at their home. 48% said they watch TV in their bedroom. As entrepreneurs, as business people, you probably don't care much about that. As an academic, this terrifies me, because watching TV in the bedroom is linked to risk behavior among youth, is linked to obesity, and is linked to many other social problems. What are the main genres they watch on TV? Movies came in first, and comedy series, music videos, drama series, cartoons, and sports. Then came the slightly more serious documentaries, game shows. Look at the newscasts. Only a quarter said they watch newscasts mainly on TV. Political talk shows, 1/5, 21%. So bad for Kalam al-Nas. What else do they do while watching TV? The #1 habit, or the #1 thing they do while watching TV is eating. 87%. Again, as an academic, as a scholar, this is linked to obesity, and we can see the numbers of obesity going up in the Arab world, so this is a problem for us. Then chatting with people present in the room, cell phone texting, talking on the phone, emailing, listening to music, or browsing online. There was a study in the US sponsored by the Khazar Foundation that found out of 12 hours of the day, youth in the US use media for 13 hours continuously. What does that mean? That means they are multitasking. They are watching TV and texting and browsing and doing their homework. 35%. This is the same percentage of students who fail my classes. Play video games, 19%, and 17% also read while they're watching TV. Okay, we measured some attitudes towards the internet in general. We asked this question: which of the following have you done in the past 30 days? 82% of the youth have never used a credit card online or purchased a product online. At the same time, 54% never clicked on an online ad. However, 85% downloaded music, 71% downloaded software, 50% downloaded games, and 50% downloaded movies. Who is paying for those downloads? Not the people I surveyed. This was a troubling question. We asked our participants about restrictions on the internet in the Arab world. How do they feel about it? Do they feel there should be less restrictions, more restrictions, that the internet should be totally banned, or it should be totally free with no restrictions at all? 21% said no restrictions, 31% said less restrictions. That's about 50% on the positive side of freedom of expression online. 40% said more restrictions. And an 8%, thankfully it was not more than 8%, said the internet should be fully restricted or banned. Some perceptions about threat, which is important for us because we deal with media literacy and digital literacy. We want our youth and our population in general to be media literate, to be critical about what they consume. One of the questions we asked about information they download or they acquire from the internet. 83% said the information they get from the internet is very or somewhat trustworthy. Now again, this does require a little bit more research, but this does reflect a very uncritical population when dealing with the internet. Some other attitudes. The internet helps me gain political power. The red represents the strongly disagree or the somewhat disagree. The blue represents the agree side. So look at the blue as it grows or the red as it grows. Helps me influence government. Helps governments monitor me. You can see that a majority on these questions disagree. Same thing for helps corrupt me. We're still at the 50% range. Threatens my privacy. A little bit under 50%. Distracts me from schoolwork. A lot of them agree. Helps advocate my causes and beliefs. Roughly 70% agree. Helps me express my opinion. Over 80%. Helps me with my schoolwork. And the final huge agreement is offers me great entertainment opportunities. That's what? Almost 94% of the youth agree with that. Again, a reflection that media in general, and social and digital media, internet, are mainly for entertainment. Some values. This is a little bit complicated, so what we did is we asked them about blogs, social media, online video services, and professional news websites. And we wanted to assess their perception of how independent, objective, or reliable they view these sources of information. The first thing, trustworthiness. Just look at the bolded numbers. Trustworthiness Index. Blogs garnered around minus 28%. Social media minus 17%. Online videos minus 7%. And professional news 11%. Meaning, professional news websites were considered the most trustworthy compared to the least trustworthy, which is blogs, followed by social media. When it comes to independence from government, the same thing. Look at the blogs, the bold line, sorry. Social media and online videos were considered the most independent, followed by blogs, while professional news websites were considered the least. I'm not sure what's happening. Can we? The least independent from government. And the last one, when it comes to objectivity, you can also look at the bold line. Professional news compared to the others ranked as the most objective, followed by online video services, and then social media and blogs. If you look at all of these, what does it mean? Professional news websites are trustworthy, not so independent, and not so objective. Or sorry, are objective, more objective than the blogs and the social media. But the blogs and the social media tend to be the most independent. Some mixed perceptions there that would give some insight for those who are working in the news industry at least. One last thing, we asked them to rank blogs and social media in terms of these values. You can see that exciting ranked number 1 for social media. For blogs, it ranked number 6. If you look at distracting, both of them ranked high. Addictive, social media ranked 3rd, while blogs ranked 10th. Not so addictive. Essential, both of them had the same rank. Efficient, same rank. Beneficial, social media were considered slightly more beneficial than blogs. Liberating, same rank. Harmful, same rank. Boring, social media ranked 9, while blogs ranked 2. Educating, social media ranked 10, while blogs ranked 11. And difficult, social media ranked 11, and blogs ranked 3rd. So some concluding notes here, just a couple of takeaways. Arab youth, at least the ones we surveyed, including the biases in our sample, tend to be media consumers, not producers. They use English as their main language. except for news, of course. They are predominantly using media for entertainment. The web for them is for freebies, downloading things for free. It is weak for online spending in terms of using their credit cards to purchase things. Of course, the infrastructure, at least in Lebanon, is to blame for that. TV remains king. Social media and mobile technology are promising. Blogs seem to be very weak, but probably growing. And the last three things, print news and radio are on decline, as everyone is predicting and seeing around the world. There's a strong trust in new media and online content, which translates into a population that is not so critical of online information. And finally, our youth are tech savvy. They're adept at using media, but they are not so media literate. Thank you very much.